so we could end up with a chip that totally didn't work. Last night I got an interesting message from somebody on the course, Pavel, and he asked me why his gate level simulation was giving X's on the outputs instead of Z's. So to understand that, let's have a quick look at the wrapper that all the projects get wrapped up in the 0 to ASIC course. So all the outputs are tri-stated. If the active line is high, then we connect this buffer to the actual output. Otherwise, we set it to Z. So that's true for the wishbone, for the logic analyzer, for the I/O, for the IRQs. And the reason we want to do that is because we want to have all these different projects all together. And if one project is active, then it should have complete control of all the outputs. If another project is also driving the bus high or low, then that's going to mess up everything, the logic analyzer, the wishbone, and all the outputs. So we could end up with a chip that totally didn't work. So here we see the gate level simulation of what Pavel sent me. And when active is low, all of these outputs should be Z, but actually they're X. And when active was high, they do the right thing. Now, it was late at night and I just said to him, well, if the project does what you need it to do and it passed the test when active is high, then surely that's no problem. Just go ahead with it. And then afterwards I thought, but wait, X means it could be either high or low. And that means it's going to ruin everything else on the bus. So we've got to get to the bottom of this. So why is it happening? And one of the problems with gate level netlists is they're very difficult to work your way through. So if we take something like this output enable pin 11 and look at the gate level netlist, we can search this for output enable 11, and this is a clock buffer. So why is it a clock buffer? Why isn't it a tri-state buffer, how it should be? Let's follow this back and find out where that joins to. And that connects to the eBuffN1. So that is the tri-state driver. So why is there a clock buffer after the tri-state? So I decided to quickly check the GDS to see if that was really true. So I've loaded up the GDS in K-Layout, and I'll start off by turning off everything, all the cells. And then I'll go back in and turn on the tri-state buffers. So you can see they're close to the edge, but there's something missing. And if I click on that, I can see down here clock buff 2. If I turn on clock buff 2, we can see that these outputs are all going past. So that is true, there are these clock buffers in here. We've seen it in the gate level netlist, and we've seen now in the GDS. So why are they there? Because they're not asking for them in the Verilog. So I did a bit of searching in the OpenLane configuration, and here we go. We've got buffer input ports and buffer output ports, which are new in the tools for MPW2, and by default they're turned on. So if it's possible, if there's enough room, then OpenLane will always put a clock buffer on an output pin, I'm assuming to drive the signal higher, and normally that would be fine. But if you need the tri-state to be the last thing, like I do, to make sure that the bus is left in a high impedance state when all the other designs are meant to be turned off, then it's no good. So I had to emergency open lots of issues on the people's repositories and ask them to fix this and to re-harden again. And at the same time, I've added a new test in my multi-project tools. So I was already checking that the interface was correct, that all the outputs were there, and I was already checking that we had those 144 tri-states, but I wasn't actually checking that they were all Z when active was low. So I added this new test, which basically is another CocoTB test, which powers up the design, sets active to low, waits for a moment, and then asserts that everything is high impedance. Added that as a new test, wrote a makefile that copies in the powered Verilog design, prepends a little bit of a header to get things set up for the gate level simulation, and then runs this with iVerilog and the assertions with CocoTB to show that the impedance goes high, the outputs go Z when active is low. So I really think we dodged a bullet there, because I was intending to add a test like this, and I was intending to run all the designs at once, but we've only got a week left now till MPW2 submission, so I don't know whether I would have actually got round to it. So it's been great that there's been lots of eyes on the work that we're doing in the Zero to ASIC course. So big thanks to Pavel for digging in, doing the extra credit homework on the gate level simulation, and then being curious enough to work out and ask why it's X instead of Z, because I needed that kick to get me to work it out.